Good morning, Max Living Faithful, and welcome to part 1 of 2 of our Detox Masterclass. So, one of the things that I think is most difficult to understand for many people is how do you know when you're toxic and how does toxicity affect you? From in the office this week, we've been announcing how 85% of all chemicals that are actively used in products that we consume in America are not tested for how they affect our bodies, what they do to our hormones, what they do to our disease, cancer, whatever. And might seem crazy to think about, but additionally, more than 3,000 chemicals are used in processed foods that are consumed that don't even have to be listed on the label. So, when that happens, how do we know what to do? How do we know what it affects us? Because it does cause some of the most specific issues that people deal with, whether that's weight loss resistance, whether that's hormone issues like thyroid issues or stress hormones, or as I mentioned just a moment ago, chemical toxicity is linked to turning on genes that cause cancer. And I mean, just a variety of other things, energy, digestion, I mean, all sorts of stuff. So we're going to go over the next 2-part classes and give or take 70 minutes total, what to do, what to look at, how you can change it. What are some simple things you can do? Today, specifically, what I'm going to do is cover all the different areas that you really should look at. And my encouragement to you would be to say, what 1, 2, or 3 things can you actively decide to change, implement, or cut out? Because if you're willing to do so, you're going to see a significant improvement over time. So let's go ahead and dive right in here. A day in someone's toxic life, and so what I mean by that is toxicity. So when do you get exposed to toxins? Well, let's just say you wake up in the morning, you jump in the shower. If you don't have a filter on your water or your shower, you typically are consuming in a most absorbable form a whole bunch of chlorinated water, because that's what we use in tap water to kill off bacteria, and it's the one of the simplest or cheapest ways to process. So all the steam in that shower you breathe in through membranes, and you're consuming chemicals. There are plastic byproducts. There's all sorts of stuff. Following that, if you have normal or traditional toothpaste, you go ahead and put toothpaste in your system. Now, there's a reason that you put aspirin under somebody's tongue when they're having a heart attack, and that is that it's the quickest way to your bloodstream. So when you put toothpaste in, Crest a few years back was sued because of all the plastic microfibers that were in their toothpaste, and that can absorb into your blood and therefore become very toxic. So the toothpaste, turn around and put on deodorant, and deodorant has, if you're using traditional deodorant, it has fragrance, colorings, chemicals, and then worst of all, heavy metals. So if you're using antiperspirant, you have aluminum being put on your skin, and that's what stops you from perspiring. Ironically, that same aluminum is what your body pushes out of your skin because it is so very toxic that's often why people smell so bad or sweat so profusely if they miss a morning of or 2 mornings of antiperspirant. If you're a female especially, you may put on makeup. If you're putting on non-mineral based makeup or oil-based makeup, you're putting on heavy amounts of chemicals onto your skin. And just like with your deodorant, about 25% of that goes into the skin. Go down to the breakfast table, and if you're consuming a more traditional American breakfast, I'm just going to use Cheerios and milk. Cheerios are shown to have high amounts of glyphosate or Roundup residue in them because it's some of the cheaper genetically modified grain. Following that with if you're using traditional milk, you're using milk that's been spliced to have the fat molecule shortened, which makes it toxic or inflammatory for your intestinal tract. And on top of that, milk besides meat, milk has the highest holding of chemicals, everything from antibiotics to steroids to all the other things that the cattle are exposed to while they're held in, small pens and given steroids, so they way overproduce the amount of milk that their body's capable of. And that's just before you even leave the house. Jump in your car. If you have, new car smell or an air freshener in there, you're breathing in toxic chemicals. Then you get to work, and if they chronically clean everything with all these disinfectants, bleach, and people that are using hand sanitizer, incredibly toxic for your body, damages the bacteria in your gut, and then going on to lunch and so on and so forth. So you can see you breathe all this stuff in. One thing that my father was talking to me about a few weeks ago that I thought was interesting. He was talking about over in, for instance, China, in the big cities, when you see people wearing those, coverings, part of why they're doing it, it's I think it's been proposed as what current media is sharing. But if you open your phone, like if you open your weather app, you'll see that, for instance, today the air quality is 29. So that's the overall air quality. He said, when he's a retired pilot, when he would be over in China, air quality could be somewhere between 250 and 500. Again, people are like hacking up just chemicals out of their lungs. Back when there were the Olympics, he said, it was ironic. They shut some of the factories off to lower air quality so that it didn't look so toxic. And, people are just flat out getting poisoned, and therefore trying to filter some of this air. But in America, we don't run into that because we do have lower overall environmental chemicals, smog in the air, that sort of thing. But, again, I digress. But day in a toxic life, there's a reason why you need to look at toxicity. I think of, when I think of toxicity, I think of people in factories 100 years ago. I'm sure breathing in all sorts of smoke and gross things. But if you read the book, The Paleocardiologist, you may have heard me quote in the past that the average person in 2010 comes in contact or consumes more chemicals in 2 days than someone that 100 years prior would come in contact with in their entire life. So, I believe personally that God created us with enough organs or systems to detox our body, but we have to acknowledge that the toxic load that we're currently coming in contact with is radically higher than anything we've seen in our history, in the history of all the generations that you could have ever personally met. And year after year, decade after decade, unfortunately, it's getting worse, not better. So yes, for instance, they're cleaning up the Great Lakes and they're not letting factories dump PCBs into the lakes and causing that toxicity. But there are more and more chemicals getting put into food. There's more and more chemicals getting sprayed on fields. There's more and more chemicals coming in your carpet or flame retardant on your mattress or the smell that's in your car or whatever it is. So we unfortunately are at a level of toxicity that is unprecedented in our history. So according to the Global Healing Center, the average person is exposed to over 2 million, that's 2 million toxins in a single day. So think about that, 2 million toxins. Now, what does that affect? That affects inflammation, pain. When people talk about fibromyalgia, that's always one of those tough things for me. Fibromyalgia is so linked to the overload of toxicity. It's 150 different symptoms rounded into one disease. Think about that, 150 symptoms. How can fibromyalgia be a true disease? It's an assortment of symptoms from toxicity or inefficient function within the body. Cancer, again, linked. Heart disease, linked. Thyroid disease, linked. Weight gain, linked. Tumors, all sorts of stuff. Fatty liver. So people talk about, I've had more people come in and say, hey, I got diagnosed with cirrhosis of the liver and I don't even drink alcohol, or I drink alcohol less than once a month. How could that possibly be? Well, if alcohol might have been the toxin that caused cirrhosis of the liver most frequently 50 years ago, unfortunately, there's plenty of people who don't drink that either consume, prescription medications, over-the-counter medications, or come in contact with all sorts of toxins that create damage. And that fatty liver is essentially overload on the liver, because your liver is your first of several lines of defense and toxicity. Your liver, your kidneys, your bowels. You also have your skin. So skin conditions. Your skin is the last of the detox organs that your body uses. But how many people have major skin issues and they can't figure out why? And the other thing is, I find it so amazing. The number one thing these specialists use to help you with your skin, they use a steroid. Now, what's a steroid do? A steroid shoves everything back in and makes you sicker. So yes, it looks better. Yes, maybe you need that if you have scaling on your face or something like that. But what are they solving? They're literally doing nothing to get to the root cause of the problem. This is what we believe in. This is what we stand for so strongly. Get to the root cause of the problem. Help your body function at a better level, and you can't help but be healthier. It might not manage the symptom that you might be dealing with perfectly, but it certainly helps more than covering it up with some sort of drug. And while we're on drugs, remember, number one toxin consumed in America for multiple decades is prescription medication. I'm not saying that drugs aren't helpful. I'm not saying that they can't be beneficial, but there is a reality that they have side effects. Why? Because they are all chemicals. So anything that you're chronically putting in your body is a chemical from a prescription or over-the-counter medication, and therefore increases toxicity in your body, that your body then has to handle the toxic load and figure out how to flush out of your symptom system. That also, lastly, I want to point out that for people that have weak immune systems, which for 2 or more years now has been this massive sensitivity, for many people, polarizing topic. Many of the people that live in fear, many of the people that are very aggressive in their attacks on follow these government regulations and recommendations are the same people that are dousing themselves in chemicals and doing the exact opposite of what they're attempting to do. Think about philosophy. What is your philosophy on taking care of your body? What do you do to allow your body to heal itself? Do you avoid things that are easy? Do you avoid things that don't cause you to take responsibility? For instance, somebody that's 400 pounds worrying about their face covering, or 400 pounds worrying about who they're around, I'm not here to judge their weight, but if they're the same weight a year later and they haven't done things to eat healthier or exercise or detox or flush, they might not be really focusing or taking responsibility on who and what they should be responsible for. So again, we're in a different era. Somehow these things magically disappeared, as most of you know. But again, we're on detox this week, and we are thinking about how do we get toxic load out of the body to help the body function at its optimal level. This is great for your looks. It's great for your energy, and it also avoids or minimizes symptoms of disease. So few signs that your body is toxic: weight gain, especially unexplained weight gain or inability to lose weight, chronic fatigue, skin issues, so having scaling, even skin cancer. One last just thing about traditional American recommendations versus truth. There is more skin cancer caused from putting on sunscreen chronically than there is from the sun. Yet most people are putting on sunscreen to avoid skin cancer. How ironic that the research that showed that it was better to put on sunscreen was done with mineral-based sunscreen, which is much lower on the toxicity level. And then, of course, cheaper, more chemical-based sunscreen was produced, which does reduce your exposure to the sun. It also lowers your vitamin D because of sun exposure helping your body naturally produce vitamin D, but it leads to more skin cancer with taking the easier way. So again, hopefully at this moment, you're weighing out a paradigm shift if you haven't been thinking this way in the past. But on top of some other warning signs, increased pain, muscle spasms, Constipation. Why would constipation be a sign you're toxic? Well, water is necessary in most cases for getting toxins or helping your body bind to toxins to remove through your bowels or your bladder. And so if you're dehydrated or severely toxic, you might get constipated because your body's putting so much toxicity into your stool. So one free way to get toxins out of your body is to drink more water. As we talked about in the metabolism seminar, drink at least half your body weight in ounces of water can really help to detox your system. Additionally, sleep, headaches are very linked to especially migraines, and hormones, mood. Going back to cancer, 95%-ish of cancers are attributed to turning on the genetics due to diet and toxic factors. So again, not saying that there aren't certain cancers that are purely genetic, but many cancers are triggered. And unfortunately, while they keep predicting cancer to become the top killer in America, what's consistently happening over the years is that heart attacks continue to rise as well, or heart disease. So cancer is still currently the number 2 killer in America, but heart disease and cancer kill the majority of people in this country. Now, additionally, why is this so relevant? Read this slide very slowly. Toxins are fat soluble. Toxins are fat soluble. So what's that mean? It means that if your body can't kick them out, if your body can't get them out of your system immediately, they will store in your body fat. So you could have chemicals from smoking cigarettes 30 years ago still stuck in your body fat, and then it can also lead to weight loss resistance. So in many cases, you need to help your body flush when you're doing it. So before we actually dive in to some of the sources of toxicity, think about this. Let's just use alcohol for just a moment. If you drank 1 glass of wine every other day for a month, you may actually even see some health benefits, but it would be a very low level of toxicity. Your body would, in most cases, be able to clear or flush that out of your system. But if you added up those 18 or 15 or whatever it worked out to be glasses of wine over the course of 3 hours, you potentially could die because the dose is what makes it a poison. So same thing, because we are overloaded with toxicity, lowering your dosage could potentially save your life. Lowering what you're exposed to. So again, think about as we go through some of these things today, the 1, 2, or 3 things that you could implement that would lower your toxic load. And if you personally would like to be assessed, just like with the Metabolism Masterclass, Max Living has provided what's called a life risk questionnaire, or an LRQ. Now, in the Detox Masterclass, or in the Metabolism Masterclass, there were many of you that took advantage of our complimentary 15-minute assessment. At this point, this LRQ is going to be exclusively used through our integrative clinic. So if you are using Integrative Medical of Rockford to assess your lifestyle, help you get off medication, make lifestyle choices, and potentially be tested for a lot of the things that I'm going over, when you make an appointment to be assessed by Landra, you can fill out a life risk questionnaire and have the opportunity to look at our Metabolics Program. And what the Metabolics Program is a program where we're going to do advanced testing, very different than your traditional MD or hospital is going to test for, to look at what are your toxicity levels, what's the bacteria in your gut look like, what are your vitamin levels, what are your mineral levels, what genetics could potentially be turned on or turned off that could cause you to have disease or certain symptoms. So Integrative Medical of Rockford, our integrative side, if you would like to be assessed for your toxicity level, for your toxic load, we have that opportunity. You make an appointment either by calling the office, 779-423-2044, or private messaging us, or scheduling. For most of you that are watching this, you're active clients at Chiropractic First or Integrative Medical, and you can set up an appointment with Landra, say, I want to do an LRQ and be assessed for the Metabolics Program, and we will set that appointment up for you. So again, LRQ is a great way to actually look at what are your most risky lifestyle factors and how can you improve those. So what are the top toxins? I grew up in Northern Illinois, just like many of you watching did. We knew when to stay inside when they were spraying the fields. We knew, I remember more previously, my grandfather used to, as a farmer, he used to say, oh, there's the smell of money, which meant they were spraying manure on the fields. But I'm going to go ahead and put this slide up here. Where are toxins found? So big component that people need to look at is their food. What are you putting specifically in processed foods in your system? I've used potato chips as my easiest example for a long time. So if you see on a potato chip label, just a traditional deep fried potato chips, you're probably going to see some sort of oil, potatoes, and salt. I mean, those are the three things that are they're in potato chips that you read on the label. Now, if you get Doritos, you're going to have all sorts of fillers, chemicals, cheese or cheese-like agents, or spices that are often very chemical laden, but even just traditional. But what you're not going to see is anti-foaming agent. And so when they brew when they deep fry these in these huge vats, they put an anti-foaming agent on there so that they can get the potato chips out of the vat faster, and therefore lower cost, but also more production. Now, the downside of that is that chemical is on the chip and you don't even know about it. You do not see it. In water that's in a plastic bottle that's stored at high temperatures can pull plastic out of the water, and over 90% of water that's consumed in America has some type of plastic in it. And so for tap water, I personally strongly recommend getting it filtered, whether that's through a traditional, like at least, Brita type filter, which is a charcoal based filter, or ideally a reverse osmosis filter. If you're buying it out at the gas station or something, or even if you have water in our clinic, you'll notice spring water has less of these chemicals. Environmental chemicals, sure, you can get a water filter, but one of the big things is the environment in your home. The environment in your home. So anytime it's warm or warmer in the winter, we will often crack windows to get rid of the toxic air in the house. Your home can have 50 times more toxic air inside than outside. So right now, with it being spring, airing out your house, like your grandmother might have talked about, can really help your toxic load. You need to air out your house. Cosmetics, I started this with your toxic day. Putting on cheap makeup or oil, even if it's not cheap, oil-based makeup, Mary Kay, I mean, all this stuff, absolutely toxic for your body. And again, it absorbs through your skin. Cleaners, anything that touches your skin or that you breathe in, you're going to get at some level. So wearing gloves if you're going to use traditional cleaners, or for instance, like the all-purpose cleaner that I have in my house is used from doTERRA essential oils and vinegar or water. I mean, old grandmother's recipes still work in a lot of this stuff, and you can use cleaners that are non-toxic. And then lastly, what you store or cook your food in, huge source of toxicity. So identify your causes, look for action steps. So what are some action steps? Using vinegar, using soap and water, and using essential oils. All essential oil manufacturers have cleaner recipes, and with Pinterest and just a simple Google or DuckDuckGo search, you can get lots of your cleaners replaced. There's a few exceptions with getting stains out of clothing or whatever, but in general, you do not have to use cleaners. And now, if you do want to see what cleaners or what shampoos or whatever, use EWG environmentalworkinggroup.org, and you can look into some of these different cleaners. So I pulled it up on my phone, but it says know your environment, protect your health. EWG is an important one to use here. So I'm going to pull this up on the bigger screen. EWG, and then this little app called Think Dirty. So again, Thinkdirtyapp. This thing is great for searching. You can scan, you can look, and you can get a rating. So ewg.org and Thinkdirtyapp, those are two great things to use to really help you. I already hinted at disinfectants, but if you look, Purell and some of these other companies, great marketing, not good for you. Just like drug companies. I saw this stupid Pfizer commercial on TV when I was watching the NCAA tournament last night, and it was just like, it's amazing that they promote themselves as if they're not searching for, or if they haven't blindly lied, cheated, and stolen. I mean, Pfizer, the number 2 most fines for bribing doctors, falsifying research, and paying off people to make their products be more prescribed by doctors. Not showing that they had the best product, but actually just paying doctors off to prescribe their product. Disinfectants. Disinfectants are supposed to be used when you're around severely immunocompromised. Putting hand sanitizer on your skin damages the good bacteria or the barrier that keeps things out. Immune systems are weaker by chronically using hand sanitizer, and some of that can even get in and damage your digestive tract and make you more susceptible to infection. It also makes you more susceptible for all these autoimmune conditions like ulcerative colitis, Crohn's, acid reflux, ulcers, all the stuff that goes with it, and C. diff specifically. But they also have fragrances, colors. It's not just alcohol in there. Propylene glycol, which is a huge cancer causer, is in many disinfectants and hand sanitizers. I mean, think about, I get the intent. So this is the thing for those of you that are like, but I was told I need to use hand sanitizer or wear this thing or or take this jab or whatever. I get the intent. I'm not disagreeing with the intent. Protect your family, protect yourself, protect your health. The debate is it actually getting the outcome you want, or are you causing more harm than good? And this is for a lot of the chemicals. Like spraying Lysol everywhere is not a great choice in the long term. You need to be exposed to dirt. You need to be exposed to germs. That's how you strengthen your immune system. No different than, you don't look at the weights on the weight rack and get bigger biceps. You got to lift them. You got to be exposed. And so low dose exposure over time is the way that you build a strong immune system. But also a lot of those things, we're not talking about immune system today. What we're talking about is, how do you protect yourself from toxicity? And this chronic use of toxins for a short-term outcome is a very scary cumulative effect. We already talked about cosmetics, mineral-based makeups. I'm not saying don't wear makeup. You want to wear mineral-based makeups. The most popular one previously was MAC makeup, but there are a lot of mineral-based makeups. You just literally type on Amazon or at your store, you say, I'd like a more mineral-based makeup. Just like with sunscreen, you use mineral-based sunscreen. Now, cooking, again, from a bribing standpoint, nonstick cookware has a whole bunch of cancer causers and toxicity effect, hormone disruptors. When they studied food cooked for lab rats, they showed massive tumor growth and mood hormone change for people that use nonstick cookware. Now, there are so many better options. Nonstick cookware, Teflon specifically, was supposed to be taken off the market years ago because it's shown to be so bad for human health. And then somehow, some way, it stayed. Now, what can you do instead? So there are semi-nonstick cookware, so metal covered with ceramic. That's a great choice. Stainless steel cookware, cast iron that you season over time. These things are all shown to be better. Now, again, sometimes you don't even need to change what you're consuming. You need to change what you're cooking it with or storing it in. It's just like when you put margarine. Margarine's disgusting. It's terrible for you. Cook with coconut oil, cook with avocado oil. Storing in plastic is not good. Cooking in plastic is not good. Store in glass when you can. Store, don't heat in the microwave in plastic or in styrofoam or this kind of stuff. Heat it in glass if you have to. Cook it on the stove. Heat it up in the oven or the toaster oven. These things are linked to serious damage accumulated over time. Now, another thing, water. Water is also a big deal. Again, reverse osmosis filter, shower filter. I just looked because somebody asked me this this week. They said, where do I get a good shower filter? There's all these mixed reviews. And, I go on Amazon and how do I get this stuff out? Whole home filtration. I personally have a whole home filter that we put in that filters all the water, gets out some of the chlorines. Now, it's not as good as it is for the drinking water that we use reverse osmosis for. But I said, if you're not sure what to use, I've always trusted Mercola.com, MERCOLA.com. If you go into products, you can get a shower filter for $100. You can get a whole home filtration system for $1,000. That pricing is really pretty good. You can also shop locally. There are multiple stores in Rockford that carry this. You can contact Culligan about this. But again, whole home water filtration, at least filter your drinking water with a $25 Brita filter. I mean, you're consuming better water and you can detox with just water so very effectively. So what else? What's another simple system? Detox. You should, in my opinion, be using the detox system at least once and ideally twice a year. If you haven't detoxed for the last 5 years or more, in my opinion, you should do at least 3 of these in a row. Now, there are a couple things you have to watch with the nighttime part. The detox system that we carry, 2 pills in the morning, 2 pills at night. The nighttime one can bind to medications because, again, it's binding to chemicals. So you need to take any medication 2 hours or more outside of consuming that. But the detox system is a simple, great system. And, when I first joined Max Living 13 years ago, the detox system was $75 a month. Due to the volume that we've been able to purchase it at, as well as a variety of other factors that positively affect you, we've been able to lower the price to $50, and it's the same quality product. So detoxing is $50. It's probably the lowest cost thing you can do to simply detox. We do have very customized detox systems through the integrative clinic. So, if you do want to do a metabolics assessment and get the detox that would most help you, we have kidney flushes, liver flushes, skin detoxes, heavy metal detoxes. I mean, all sorts of stuff. You could do a water fast. You could do a 24-hour cleanse to detox you. But this is a gentle, safe 30-day process where you want to do 1, 2, or 3 in a row, and then 1 to 2 a year. That is a simple, very actionable item. So again, what are some action steps for you? The cheapest one, drink more water. Another very low cost one, the detox system. Again, if you have a health problem, if you have a thyroid condition, if you're struggling to lose weight, if you have high blood pressure, if you have really any problem that can be toxicity related, including mood, if you have anxiety or depression issues, linking and looking at detox can be a major benefit for you. And I would strongly suggest scheduling through our integrative clinic, or at the very least, bring it up when you're in for an adjustment, and your doctor would be happy to talk you through the different options for you. The last option for detoxing is the vitamin infusions that we've recently started doing. So we do have options for vitamin infusions for much quicker glutathione building or IVs. We have vitamin C IVs, which are shown to bind to heavy metals as well as boost your immune system. We have Natural Defense, which has vitamin C along with methylated B vitamins, magnesium, calcium, all these things that can help with muscles, flush, can lower blood pressure, can help with sleep, certainly help with stress and energy. So, I mean, we do have vitamin infusions as well. So lots of options, lots of alternatives. And so we're just briefly going to get into food, and then we're going to carry food into the next seminar, which will be on Tuesday, the 29th, but toxins in food. So here's my finish thinking point. At the next seminar, we're going to start with why CBD has become so popular and how it can positively affect you. But I'll just openly tell you some of the things in food. MSG, so first popularized by Chinese restaurants or the cheap buffets, but MSG, monosodium glutamate, damages and kills brain cells, but makes you addicted to this crappy food that so when you're like, man, I just feel like a hot dog. Or I saw at O'Hare the other day, they were proudly advertising that they serve over 1 million hot dogs a year. And I was like, God, that's a lot of MSG. But MSG can make you addicted. So processed cheap meats that you would never otherwise eat. Would you rather have a filet mignon or a pig ear? It's pretty obvious, but yet some people crave a hot dog. Why? Laden full of MSG, a chemical that makes you addicted to this cheap, crappy meat, cheap, crappy food, macaroni and cheese, aspartame, which is, again, a fake sugar, but it damages your brain cells. It's a known neurotoxin. Everything from Parkinson's to MS to diabetes, all those things are linked to aspartame. Nitrates linked to heart attacks. So chemicals here, chemicals causing heart disease, food dyes and colorings. You know, the plethora of ADHD in this country, very linked to food colorings, dyes, artificial things that are in the foods. How many kids get treats at school every single day chock full of this stuff, or cheap meats like in Lunchables and that kind of stuff? Refined oils, again, cooked oils that should be rancid, but they burn them, chemical fill them, strip them, purify them with a Windex type chemical, and then genetic modification. Let's finish with this. GMO. Am I saying GMO is bad? By no means. But in 1990, 10% of food that was consumed was genetically modified. When you're talking about grains and things like that, now it's over 90%. So we don't even really know the overall effect, except that we do know heart disease is at an all-time high, cancer is at an all-time high, depression and suicide's at an all-time high, pain's at an all-time high, and many of these other things. One of my best friends actually takes care of an owner of one of the largest companies for producing GMO seeds, and they believe they're feeding the world, they're solving world hunger. And I'm not going to disagree with that on this specific video, but what I will say is they eat organic. Why do they eat organic? Because it's non-debatable that lower chemicals in your food and higher nutrition levels in your food is better for you. So it's not whether or not we should have GMO, it's whether or not you should be investing in higher quality food, because it does lead to health. Detoxing your system, avoiding chemicals, is directly linked to better health in all areas, better happiness, lower healthy weight, less diseases, more energy, less autoimmune conditions. All this stuff is linked to toxicity. So think about, again, what your action step would be, and then implement it immediately. Order your filter online, buy your supplement, stop at the office or go on rockford.maxliving.com, whatever it might be. But your mystery word number one, action. Mystery word number one, action. Have a very blessed weekend.